Discover the incredible ways Native Americans found warmth and comfort on 30 coldest nights ever. Winter had a way of turning Jake's modest town in the Midwest into a frosty wonderland, yet the air felt colder than the biting temperatures outside. Each day was a struggle for this hard-working single father, his heart weighed down by the loss of his factory job. The drumming of Lily's laughter was the only warmth that kindled any light in their small apartment. But as the sun set and shadows stretched long across the walls, Jake couldn't help but feel the chill deep within him. He remembered stories his late grandfather told, rich tales of resilience and endurance. As a revered Native American elder, his grandfather faced winters that challenged even the strongest souls. Tales of how his ancestors thrived during the coldest nights rolled through Jake's mind, calling him back to a legacy he had almost forgotten. In those evenings by the fire, he grasped his grandfather's words: the warmth of family and community was stronger than any shelter, any job. With snowflakes beginning to dance outside, a spark ignited in Jake. He decided to delve into those ancient skills, how to build a shelter from the storms and cook comforting meals that filled not just the stomach but also the spirit. It wasn't just about survival. It was about thriving, handing down strength to Lily through the stories and skills that defined their heritage. The first days of his quest came with challenges. Building a makeshift shelter in the blustery wind turned into a lesson in adaptability. Gathering wood, bundling old blankets, and crafting something that could withstand the weather, he felt the weight of tradition resting heavy on him. Each attempt left him breathless yet hopeful. Jagged motions during the day filled him with exhaustion, stretching into the night, while he balanced his learning with being a father. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the weeks dripped like melting snow, Jake faced news of a new job opportunity. It shimmered like an elusive mirage, promising financial security but threatening his connection with the town and the heritage he started to embrace. How could he provide for Lily while risking the very essence of who they were? The tension churned deep within him. Then came the fateful night. A blizzard swirled fiercely, isolating their town in a blanket of snow and uncertainty. With the landscape consumed by white, neighbors that rarely ventured out came together, sharing warmth, laughter, and food. In that moment, Jake witnessed the whisper of unity, the spirit of a community shining through the chilling darkness. Standing amidst it all, Jake felt the battle within him shift. Should he chase a brighter financial future at the cost of his roots? Or embrace his grandfather's wisdom and the strength of their community? With dawn creeping in like love rekindling, Jake found strength welling within him, igniting the flicker of hope. He realized that perhaps this very moment was his turning point. The snow fell steadily, but the greatest warmth was sprouting inside his heart. Would he step forward into this new way of life, or let go of everything he held dear? Jake sat at the window, watching the snow blanket the town. Each flake added to the layer of uncertainty that mirrored his thoughts. The whispers of the community from the night before still echoed in his mind. Laughter, warmth, and an unexpected bond sparked a sense of belonging he didn't realize he'd yearned for. It filled him, making him forget for a moment the biting cold outside and his worries about the future. He turned his gaze to Lily, still asleep, her breath steady and soft. Each breath was a reminder of why he fought so hard. As he brushed a lock of hair from her face, he felt a surge of determination. He wouldn't let worry consume him. He would carve a path that honored both his family's past and their future. That day, he wrapped Lily in her favorite red scarf, the one his grandfather had knitted long ago. The vibrant color was a little comfort in the muted tones of winter. With every step outside crunching through the thick snow, Jake felt a sense of purpose begin to solidify. He joined neighbors who were carrying supplies, shoveling porches, and sharing stories. It was as if the storm had uncovered a hidden treasure: the community's resilience, They set up a makeshift kitchen in the heart of the block, just under the awning of the cafe that remained closed. The smell of soup bubbling over a fire filled the air, mingling with the laughter and the clamor of voices. Jake jumped in, eager to help. He chopped vegetables, stirring the pot and feeling the warmth of camaraderie. Each interaction, each shared smile, wove a thread of connection that stitched together a fabric of new hope. "This soup is going to warm us all up," he joked, making Lily giggle as she popped her head out from behind him, her bright eyes wide with curiosity. "Can I help, Daddy?" she asked, her tiny hands eager to learn. "Of course, Princess. Just like I'm teaching you, we're all learning." Together, he smiled, handing her a small spoon to stir. As they worked, each neighbor shared stories of their own grandparents, tales that echoed the wisdom his grandfather once shared. Jake listened closely, feeling the power of those words ignite the fire within him. The stories of survival became a bonding glue, stronger than any financial security he could chase. That night, as the snow continued to fall heavier than before, Jake and Lily set up a little blanket fort in the corner of their living room. They curled up with hot cocoa, and as the warmth seeped into them, Jake began to share the stories he had heard. Lily listened intently, eyes sparkling as she visualized their ancestors weathering the darkest storms. "What if we had to face a storm like they did?" Lily asked, her innocence shining brightly. Jake paused, contemplating. "Then we learn from them, and we invite everyone to help. We'll build something to keep us warm, and we won't do it alone, okay?" Lily nodded, her smile beaming with the kind of understanding only a child could have. It dawned on Jake that maybe the greatest gift his grandfather had left him wasn't just stories, but the ability to build a home filled with love, history, and courage. As the last drops of cocoa warmed their hearts, Jake glanced outside. The blizzard still roared, but his heart hummed with a new rhythm, the rhythm of hope and unity. But as Jake drifted off to sleep, a text message chimed on his phone, revealing the job offer he'd been thinking about for days. It was still on the table, still offering stability. The dilemma began to swirl again in his mind, much like the falling snow. Would he prioritize his family, his community, and their rich heritage, or would he leap for the new opportunity? The warmth inside began to fight the cold uncertainty swirling around him, but the question remained. Which path would he take? The morning sunlight filtered weakly through the snow-covered trees, casting a soft glow on an almost magical scene. Jake's eyes fluttered open, and the warmth of last night's moments filled his heart. He glanced at Lily, still deep in slumber, her cheeks rosy pink, and he couldn't help but smile. It felt like a world untouched, a brief reprieve from the chaos of decisions weighing on him. Still, the text from last night nagged at him. He reached for his phone, hesitating for a moment before finally opening it. There was again the job offer, glowing bright on the screen. It was generous, promising, and a step toward financial security. With a long sigh, he tossed the phone aside. "Okay, Jake," he murmured softly to himself. "Let us remember what matters most today." After breakfast, he bundled up Lily and ventured outside. The snow crunched underfoot as they made their way to the community kitchen again. People were gathering, their spirits high despite the biting cold. The warmth of togetherness wrapped around Jake like the scarf he'd gifted Lily, and he couldn't help but feel the pull of the family roots he longed to preserve. Today, things would feel different. Today, he would not just serve, today, he would also listen. "Hey, Jake!" called out Mrs. Henderson, one of his older neighbors who always had warm cookies for the kids. "We're thinking of sharing stories from our past while we prepare the food. Would you join us?" "Of course, Mrs. H," Jake said with a bright smile, lifting Lily into his arms to carry her closer to the circle gathering under the awning. As he settled in, the air buzzed with voices reminiscing about winters long past. Stories flowed like the soup bubbling over the fire. There were ghosts of grandparents, tough winters endured, and backbreaking work rewarded with the soft glow of shared laughter. Each tale was a reminder that warmth did not only come from the soup or the blankets but from the connections that bound them all together. Lily's gaze was wide, starved for adventure. She listened, enraptured as Mrs. H recounted how her grandfather built a makeshift shelter for their family during one of the worst blizzards the town had ever seen. "We kept each other warm with stories and laughter, just like we are now," she said, eyes twinkling. Jake couldn't help but reflect on those words, feeling a shift in his heart as memories from his own grandfather swirled around him like snowflakes. As stories continued to unfold, Jake felt a reachable sense of gathering warmth around the fire, yet the tension of his decision loomed steadily in the back of his mind. "Remember, it's the memories we create that last," Mrs. H said suddenly, catching him off guard. "You make choices for your future, dear, but don't forget to nurture what's in your heart." Her words hit home. It was not the first time he had heard a variation of that advice, but now they resonated in his chest. Jake turned toward Lily, who was now coloring in the snow with some neighborhood kids. She twirled around, droplets of joy radiating from her. In that moment, it became even clearer. What was the point of a stable future if he wasn't happy? As the group continued sharing stories, a commotion erupted at the edges of the gathering. Someone shouted, and Jake spun around just in time to see a snow-covered figure emerge, stumbling. His heart raced. Who could it be? And what could this unexpected arrival mean for the community, his family, and his own decision? Jake's pulse quickened. A new challenge seemed to have arrived right when he thought he found clarity. What was the mystery behind this unexpected figure? The crowd shifted as the figure stumbled closer, brushing off snow from a parka that seemed 2 sizes too big. A few gasps broke the air, voices rising in surprise. Jake squinted, recognizing that familiar shape. It was Ben, a longtime friend turned drifter after losing his job and facing tough times. "Ben!" Jake exclaimed, relief mixed with concern flooded his voice. As Ben approached, his face, unshaven and weary, was framed by the flurry of winter behind him. Jake rushed forward, grabbing his friend's shoulder. "We were just talking about you." "What happened?" "I got lost a bit," Ben chuckled nervously, his lips cracking into a smile that did little to mask the exhaustion in his eyes. "I wanted to come here. I needed some warmth." The atmosphere shifted again, this time to one of support. People began to gather around Ben, bringing him into the fold, welcoming him back with open arms. Mrs. Henderson, her voice offering comfort, insisted, "You're just in time, dear. Sit by the fire and have some soup. We can share stories together." Jake stood back for a moment, watching as Ben settled in beside Lily, who immediately handed over her crayons, eager to share them. Everything felt different now. This wasn't just a gathering, it was a lifeline for someone who had once thrived in the community, and now stood in a moment of vulnerability. "Do you want to tell us what brought you out today?" one neighbor asked, and Jake noticed a flicker of hesitation in Ben's eyes before he nodded. "Things haven't been great, you know?" Ben started, his voice trembling slightly. "I've been spending my nights wandering around, and trying to keep warm. I thought I could come back here, maybe get something back that I lost." His gaze drifted, picking up pieces of the surrounding warmth. Jake's heart ached. Here was Ben, a man he had shared countless basketball games with, now battling his own demons in the cold. This moment echoed the very lessons they had just shared about memories and warmth. "I'm so glad you're here," Jake said, the words spilling from him like the pot of soup brewing over the fire. "We need you. We're a community, and that means we stand together with you." Lily looked up at Ben, her round eyes glimmering with innocence. "You can be my friend too. We can color together." A chuckle broke from Ben, pulling him out of his dark thoughts, and for a brief moment, the weight seemed to lift. Sharing stories began once again, and laughter bubbled amidst the whispers, transforming the cold into something lighter, something warmer. But as Jake leaned back, feeling buoyed by connection, a nagging thought troubled him. Could he help Ben find more than temporary warmth? The job offer still lurked in the back of his mind, but was it worth chasing if it meant leaving his friend behind? Ben needed support, and Jake had to find a way to help without jeopardizing his own family's future. Faced with increasing responsibility, would he have the courage to reach out for both their sakes? A new question loomed ahead, one carrying the heavy weight of his impending choices. Could they rebuild their lives together? The flicker of hope danced in the air, but the uncertainty tangled with it like the swirling snow outside. What would Jake's next step look like, and how would it shape not just his future, but Ben's too? Jake watched Ben's expression shift as he settled among familiar faces. It felt like a balm, soothing the frayed edges of their shared history, but it also pressed heavier on Jake's heart. He could feel the warmth radiating around the fire, yet it seemed to amplify the chill of Ben's situation. The laughter of their friends, once pure joy, now echoed with his own doubts. "She's right," Lily chirped, her tiny voice cutting through the crowd's chatter. "You can play games with us too. Remember how we used to play outside?" The way Ben's face softened with her words stirred something in Jake. It reminded him of simpler times when friendships were forged on the baseball diamond or in the alleyways, where laughter was enough to keep the winter at bay. A flicker of that lost joy shone in Ben's eyes, but it quickly dimmed as if caught in a winter wind. "Yeah, I remember," Ben replied quietly. His gaze drifted to the flames, where embers danced like long-lost dreams. His voice faltered. "Things are different now." Jake leaned closer, his heart pounding. "But they can change. You can change them. You have friends who care right here." Ben looked around, gathering the faces Mrs. Henderson, her kind eyes dancing with understanding, even the teenagers nearby, eager to include him again. Yet, the shadows of despair clung to him like static cling, warping connections and making it hard to see a way forward. "I don't know, man." Ben's voice barely rose above the crackle of the fire. "It feels good to be back," but he exhaled deeply, as if trying to release the weight of his doubts. "Sometimes I think I messed everything up too badly." The air shifted again as Jake took a breath, summoning every ounce of courage. "You can rebuild. It won't be easy, but we'll be here every step of the way. I have something I want to talk to you about." Jake hesitated, weighing his words. "There's a job opening at my place. It's not much, but it's a start." The laughter surrounding them faded momentarily, the flicker of hope now caught in a whirlwind of anxiety. Ben's brows knitted together, the warmth of the moment colliding with the cold reality of his situation. "I appreciate that, really, but what if I fail again?" "Then you pick yourself back up and try again," Jake said firmly, surprised by the urgency in his own voice. "You don't have to do this alone. We're a community. We can't let fear win." For a brief moment, the world outside seemed to hush. Ben's gaze lingered on Jake, searching for authenticity in his words. The crowd tightened around them, exchanging glances full of empathy, each person silently promising to support Ben if he chose to rise. Then, breaking the stillness, Lily jumped up. "Hey! Remember how we built that fort out of snow? We could do that again. It was so much fun!" Her excitement ignited a spark of laughter again. Jake sensed it too, a thread weaving through the cold, a reminder that laughter could bridge aching hearts and stir forgotten dreams. Even Ben managed a weary smile at the child's innocent enthusiasm. "Yeah, I remember that fort well. It was epic." But Jake felt the weight of an unresolved dilemma hanging thick in the air. Could a job and the love of friends be enough to mend the broken pieces in Ben's life? And what sacrifice must Jake be willing to make for his friend's sake? "Will you take the first step? Come back to work with me?" he asked, his own heart racing with the uncertainty of the answer. Ben looked at the fire, then at the collected faces around him. The warmth wrapping around him felt almost palpable. But as the warmth enveloped the group, the bitter chill of uncertainty lingered. As a gust of wind swept through the gathering, Jake feared that everything, even hope, could still be swept away like snowflakes floating back into the air. Would Ben have the courage to accept the lifeline Jake laid before him, or would the shadows of his past pull him back into the cold? The flicker of the fire glowed brighter, shadows dancing in rhythm with anticipation, but the answer remained unclear. What would Ben decide, and how would it affect them all? Ben's eyes flickered between the fire and the faces of those surrounding him, a battle raging within. Laughter drifted in and out, wrapping around him like a warm blanket, yet he felt a chilling undercurrent tugging at his heart. Jake's voice cut through that chill, earnest and unwavering, but Ben couldn't shake the specter of his failures. He swallowed hard and tried to shake off the doubt. What if I go back and it's the same mess? His voice cracked, barely able to hold back the weight of his fears. What if I mess things up again? I don't think I can handle that. Jake shook his head, his blue eyes steady. But you won't know unless you try. Everyone believes in you, Ben. Seriously. He gestured around to those gathered, a silent army of support. If it doesn't work, okay. You'll learn. And we'll help you through it. For a moment, Ben could see the encouragement etched on their faces. Mrs. Henderson, always the gentle anchor, nodded knowingly, and even the teenagers smiled, recalling their countless gatherings in the warmth of each other's company. The flicker of hope in Jake's eyes sparked something buried deep within Ben, the longing for redemption, for a fresh start. Look, let us just build that fort again, Lily piped up again, her enthusiasm unyielding. It'll be just like old times. I'll find the biggest snowflakes. The image of Lily, her breath clouding like a dragoness, laughter spilling like sunlight through the chilled air, momentarily lifted the fog. They all shared stories beneath that fort, drawn together through their shared adventures and silly escapades. Beyond the disappointment, Ben could almost see glimmers of connection shining through those memories. Jake pressed forward, sensing the brief moment of light. We could all work together. I mean, you know how to get things done, and you're really good at setting things on fire? Ben interrupted, his tone laced with humor that felt both new and familiar. Hey, that's a skill too. Jake shot back, his grin contagious. Some in the group laughed, and the tension shimmered, released like the steam from a freshly opened can of soda. Maybe there was a path forward. All right, I'll think about it, okay? Ben said slowly. I'll give it a shot. That simple agreement brought a wave of relief, washing over Jake and sending ripples through the group like the flames before them. Ben felt a spark of something resembling hope. Yet, the shadows hadn't completely faded. Doubt was a persistent companion. As the fire crackled, throwing shimmering light against the darkening sky, Ben took a breath and leaned back. Was he really ready for this leap? Were the wounds of the past too deep? Jake interrupted his thoughts. Think of this as like a chance to build something again. Together. Not just a job, but a new beginning. Ben nodded, the weight of the night pressing against him but lighter somehow. Still, questions buzzed in his mind like restless bees, questioning if he could find a way through the shadows. Just then, with a gust of chilly wind blowing through, darkness swept momentarily across their circle. Ben shivered, but not from the cold. It was an understanding that all this change, however small, could be monumental, or it could unravel before him. But he promised himself to try. Just trying felt like a leap, like stepping from a cliff and hoping for the best. Was the warmth around the fire enough to keep those shadows at bay? As they all settled into laughter once more, the warmth of their friendship laced within the cool air, Ben's eyes wandered again to the dancing flames. It felt almost comforting. But deep down, the real question remained, how far could he go before facing the past he had fled? The fire crackled, lights flickering, and Ben resolved to take the first step toward the unknown. Would that step lead him to the warmth he sought, or would it push him back into the cold? The laughter faded into the night, but Ben could still feel the warmth of those moments wrapping around him. His heart raced, caught between nostalgia and the dread of what was to come. He couldn't ignore the voice in his head, the one that whispered he might fail again. Could he really take the risk? Could he face the shadows that crept just beyond the flickering light of their campfire? Hey, Jake nudged him gently, snapping Ben back to the present. You still with us? There was an urgent kindness in his voice, a reminder that he wasn't alone, that they were all here for him. Yeah, I'm here, Ben replied, forcing a smile. He looked at the rest of the group. The fire lit up their eager faces, filled with laughter and hope, a stark contrast to the feeling of dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. Mrs. Henderson leaned closer, her voice soft and warm. You know, it's not about perfection. It's about being together, supporting each other. That's what makes us family. Family? The word tugged at an old wound, a familiar ache that echoed in his chest. Could he really let those walls drop, let them in? Okay, he said slowly, each word weighed with hesitation. Let us build the fort. Saying it felt monumental. Cheers erupted around the fire, and Jake punched the air in victory. Yes. This is going to be epic. The excitement was infectious, washing over Ben like the snowflakes that Lily was so eager to find. What do we need? Ben asked, feeling a surge of energy. I've got a shovel and some old blankets. I'll grab some snacks, Lily chimed in, bouncing in place. You need fuel if you're gonna build something awesome. As the group split off to gather supplies, Ben allowed himself to breathe deeply, soaking in the laughter and chatter. They were coming together, united with purpose, and despite the spread of old fears, sparks of anticipation ignited within him. He started to dig, letting the cold air fill his lungs. At first, it felt weird, like waking from a long slumber. Was he really making a step towards something new? He could still feel the chill of the past nipping at his heels, but each swing of the shovel felt like a victory against that darkness. Lily returned, her arms full of sugary snacks. Look! Chocolate bars, gummy bears, and the biggest bag of marshmallows. She gleamed as bright as a snowflake in the sun. Perfect for mores. Jake laughed, breaking off a piece of snow-covered wood. He tossed it into the growing pile. This is the best way to start fresh. Mores help everything. Their laughter rang out, bright against the dimming sky, and Ben felt something shift inside him as he joined in their excitement. It was simple, but amidst the chaos of past mistakes, this felt like clarity. As the fort took shape, he saw glimpses of what they could create together. Each snowball packed, each blanket laid down, felt like a stitch, slowly weaving together the frayed edges of his heart. But even as he built the walls of the fort, a part of him hesitated. Could this really hold the weight of his past? What if the walls crumbled down too? Hey, Ben? Jake called out. You coming? Yeah, just a sec. Ben shot back, and he looked at the shadows, which seemed further away than before, softer somehow. As he stepped into the warmth of laughter and light, that fear began to dissipate, but it hadn't completely vanished. The night was still young, after all. Who knew what other memories were lurking in the dark? But as Ben settled into the fort with his friends, his heart hummed with something new courage. Just maybe, everything would be okay this time. But would that courage be enough when the shadows finally caught up with him? The laughter thrummed around Ben as the fort took shape, a bright patchwork of blankets and snow. He moved with a new confidence, even if the weight of his past still lingered like a shadow on the outskirts of his heart. Watch out! Lily shouted, her eyes sparkling with mischief. She hurled a snowball toward Jake, who dodged with an exaggerated twist, only to stumble into a pile of untouched snow. The group roared with laughter, and for a moment, it felt like all the old burdens melted away under the warmth of their friendship. All right, that's it. I'm getting you back, Jake declared, scooping up some snow and packing it tightly in his hands. Ben couldn't help but smile. This was what it felt like to be free. As they worked, Ben caught snippets of their conversations. Mrs. Henderson shared stories from her childhood winters, each tale echoing with joy and laughter, filling the night air with something magical. Her words painted pictures of warmth and family he yearned for, something he struggled to allow himself to fully embrace. With every blanket laid and every snowball tossed, he felt the fort morph into more than just a structure made of snow. It became a sanctuary, a safe haven where laughter pushed back against the cold. Let us make a roof, Ben suggested, his voice rising with excitement. We need to stay warm. Great idea! Lily chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. I'll help. The walls soon towered high, encasing them like a protective cocoon. Yet inside Ben's heart fluttered with doubt. The fear of his past still lurked like a ghost within these walls, a whisper of failure threatening to breach their fortress. Ready? Jake asked, eyeing the structure critically. Almost, Ben replied as he smoothed down the sides. We need one more blanket to cover the roof. Lily rushed forward, her cheeks red from the cold. I've got it! she shouted, a bundle of bright fabric in her arms. Just then, a chill swept through the camp. The wind howled, dancing around them eerily. Laughter faltered, and for a split second, the warmth evaporated. Ben's heart raced again, fear creeping back in. What if this was a sign? What if they weren't meant to be okay? Everything all right? Jake leaned closer, sensing a shift in Ben's demeanor. Yeah. His voice cracked. Just a little cold, I guess. Let us light the fire inside, Lily suggested, her infectious optimism seeping into the air. They gathered kindling and logs, igniting the flames with eager hands. As the fire crackled to life, its glow transformed the space. Shadows danced on the walls, and for the first time in what felt like ages, Ben smiled genuinely. He joined the group, each of them sharing their favorite stories of winter nights from their lives. The intimate exchange stitched them together tighter, making them not just friends, but family. Just as Ben began to feel truly safe, an unexpected sound broke through their laughter, a crack, sharp and sudden. What was that? Jake's excitement turned to concern, his expression shifting in the flickering light. Ben's gut twisted. Was it just the weather, or something more ominous? The shadows, pushed back before, now seemed eager to re-enter the warmth of their fort. Maybe we should check it out, Ben suggested, his voice trembling slightly. As they gathered, ready to face whatever lurked outside their temporary haven, he felt the weight of those shadows creeping closer. Would his newfound courage hold? But would this test be the moment that defined their night, or the beginning of something darker? The fire crackled, casting flickering shadows as Ben led the group to the entrance of the fort. His heart thudded loudly, drowning out the laughter that had moments ago filled their sanctuary. He took a deep breath, feeling the cold air rush in, and steeled himself. Stay close, he whispered, glancing back at Lily and Jake. Fear was etched on their faces, but curiosity sparkled in their eyes. They stepped outside, the world transformed by the layer of pristine snow that blanketed everything. The wind howled again, louder this time, and Ben felt it tug at his jacket, chilling him to the bone. But there was something about the night that felt alive, electric even, as if the very air was charged with secrets waiting to be uncovered. What could it be? Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She clutched her arms, looking around as the shadows loomed larger. Maybe it was just a branch snapping, Jake suggested, trying to sound brave but failing to mask the tremor in his voice. Ben nodded, even though he wasn't convinced. They were standing on the edge of something, and he could feel it. Together they moved further into the glow of the nearby lanterns, peering into the darkness surrounding them. Hello? Ben called out, his voice echoing against the snowy landscape. The silence that followed was deafening. Then came another crack, but this one was different, a deliberate sound, as though something was forcing its way toward them. Ben's breath hitched, thoughts racing. Was it just the wind again, or was there something they could sense, a presence, perhaps? They huddled closer together, forming a small triangle, hearts pounding in rhythm. A flicker of movement caught Ben's eye. Just beyond the edge of their vision, something shifted between the trees. Did you see that? He asked, pointing. The others followed his gaze. Yeah, Jake breathed, eyeing the trees. What is it? I don't know, but we should find out, Ben replied, trying to muster some courage. The thought of retreating back to the fort felt wrong. They had come this far. It was time to face whatever lay in the shadows. They stepped forward, their footfalls crunching in the snow, the chill creeping into their bones. With each step, the outlines of trees became clearer, but the darkness behind them didn't shift. It hung, heavy and still, as if watching. Suddenly, another sharp noise erupted, a snap, this time closer. Ben's instincts kicked in. Back to the fort, he commanded, panic surging within him. The trio spun around, racing back towards safety. Their feet flew over the snow, adrenaline igniting a burning urgency. Once inside, they collapsed against the walls, breaths heaving, hearts racing wildly. The fire's glow felt like a blanket around them, but shadows clung to the corners, reluctant to retreat. What was that? Lily's eyes were wide, reflecting the flickering flames. Maybe it was nothing, Jake offered weakly, but Ben could see the uncertainty reflected in his eyes. We can't think like that, Ben said, wiping the sweat from his brow. What if it was something important? What if it was an animal or someone lost out here? Their breaths settled for just a moment, isolated in their fortress, together in the dark. Fear began to morph into questions, shadows shifting just outside the reach of the fire's light. Just then, a soft tap echoed through the walls of their fort, sending chills down their spines. They exchanged terrified glances, hearts pounding in their chests. What was that? Lily whispered again, backing away from the source of the sound. Should we see? Ben's heart raced, a mix of fear and determination flooding through him. This was the night they had to face the unknown. With a trembling hand, he pulled back a corner of the blanket that served as their barrier. What they found waiting on the other side would change everything. Would they dare to confront whatever was lurking in the shadows? As Ben pulled back the blanket, a gust of cold air rushed in, chilling them even further. The darkness was thick, edging around them like a hungry beast. With a deep breath, he leaned forward, peering out into the wintry landscape. Then, just beyond the reach of the lanterns, he caught sight of a figure. His heart dropped for a moment, uncertainty gripping him. But as the figure stepped closer, he felt a glimmer of hope's spark inside him. The face was familiar, one he hadn't expected to see. It was Mary, a longtime neighbor from down the street, her cheeks flushed from the biting cold but her expression warm with life. "Ben! You're back!" she exclaimed, her voice ringing with surprise and joy, immediately dispelling the tension. "I saw the light and heard your laughter from afar. I hope I'm not intruding. We've all been worried about you." As the group emerged from their fort, relief washed over Ben. The warmth of community nestled in their hearts like a glowing ember. "We've missed you, Mary," Jake said, stepping forward to embrace her. "I'm back," she declared, her eyes brightening at the sight of friends. The shadows that had clung to Ben began to retreat, a reminder that he wasn't facing this alone. Ben felt the rush of camaraderie wrap him in a comfortable embrace, pushing back the remnants of his doubts. But Mary's appearance struck a deeper chord within him. It connected him to the stories and strength they had shared that night, reminding him of resilience and how community could breathe warmth into the coldest of times. "Mary, you should join us," Lily chimed in, beaming with innocence. "We just built an epic fort. It keeps us warm inside." With a laugh, Mary knelt down, brushing the snow off her sleeves. "I'd love to. But let us make space for everyone," she urged, glancing back as more neighbors began to emerge from the shadows. With the flickering light guiding them, others joined, forming a circle that radiated warmth against the backdrop of winter's chill. Laughter and voices bubbled up anew, stories spilling forth like breadcrumbs in the snow, weaving together tales of struggle and joy, reminding them all they were loved and supported. In that moment, Ben realized something profound. He didn't have to bear his burdens alone. His past didn't define him. It was just a chapter in a much larger story that held the promise of brighter days ahead. As the fort became a hub of warmth and connection, Mary shared her own journey, how she, too, had faced her share of hardships but learned to lean on friends and family, discovering strength in vulnerability. Her words resonated with Ben and the others, each of their stories blending into a tapestry of resilience. After the storytelling and laughter settled into cozy warmth, Ben turned to Lily. "Do you remember the stories we talked about? About how every winter has its trials but brings us together?" She nodded, her eyes shimmering with understanding beyond her years. With a fresh sense of inspiration, Ben stood tall. "From today, we're not just rebuilding a fort. We're laying down the foundation for something stronger than winter's chill, a community." The group erupted in cheers, fired up by possibilities. He glanced at their radiant faces, all flickering with the glow of shared purpose. "Let us take care of each other, always. When the storms hit, let us not just huddle together, let us build together." His words hung in the air, transforming the moment as if binding them all with an unbreakable thread. From that day forward, warm meals turned into gatherings, and their collective warmth became a shield against the cold. Ben stepped into his new job, not alone but surrounded by his community of friends who believed in him. Every decision became infused with hope, each hardship met with shared strength. Through those long, cold nights, they became a family, embracing the lessons of their past to pave the way for their futures, a promise to support one another, forever entwined in warmth and love. And as Ben felt the chill of winter releasing its grip, he knew without a doubt, they had built something extraordinary together. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that melt the heart. This is the moment to show your support by hitting that like button now to keep feeding the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how we can conquer the cold together.